WL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now, you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and it's turning into something truly, truly special. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about the Bud list, who's most under duress ahead of the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Shanahan, any of these people. I think this is interesting because this all depends on who do you think has the most to win or lose, or who has the most to gain or lose with regards to this, who's has the most pressure to succeed. And I think it really depends on where the pressure is coming from. Is the pressure coming from the fans or the organization within, or from just the general media or casual fans? Because if it's the organization and the fan base, you got to think that the pressure is really on Shanahan, right? He's been there longer, the longest. He's the leader of the 49ers. Like, let's go. And if you're looking at it from the Chiefs' perspective, it's like, well, is there really pressure on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? They've been winning. They've done everything. You can't expect them to win every single year. So it is kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how they do this. So let's see what they have to say, and then we'll break it down.
Motivational segment in all sports. It's also a time where I get a cortado, I head over to the post office, and they say, Kevin! I'm the only person there because no one's getting physical mail except us. Dear Wilds, love the show. Yeah, okay. And loved Brew's interview with Baker Mayfield.
Me and Baker like this.
Do you think his 180 on the Bake Show will extend to other quarterbacks he hasn't believed in? Like, I don't know, Mac Jones. Cheers, Ryan and Brian. Sometimes I'm not even sure if Ryan and Brian write these. Brew, since you did a 180 on Big Show, is there anyone else that you're like, you know what, I should give that person a second look. I should believe in them a little bit more.
Not off the top of my head.
Great.
There, what?
Tried my best.
When's it coming?
I swear to God, I'm not doing it. And certainly we didn't make a banner. That was like a low-key flex. Like, where's the cowboy banner? We're not making banners for the cowboy.
All right, here we go.
I swear,
Nick got me last time. Nick probably did. All right, at number 3, this is going to be all motivation. Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, you are the best ever. We know it because I was the first to say it years ago. And this is going to eat Nick up. But your dad, Patrick Mahomes Sr., came on my radio show, The Odd Couple, 7 to 10 Eastern Time, Fox Sports Radio, and said, Brew, I know Nick's the Kansas City guy and all that, but you were the first to call my son Jordan-esque, and I was. I just had to throw that in. That has nothing to do with my Bud list. But anyway, Patrick, this is a great opportunity for you. Nick said it, and there's some truth to it. This is a house money Super Bowl for you. All right, just getting here has been impressive. You've been so great over your career that this one, even if you doesn't even matter how you win it. You could throw for 150 yards, no touchdowns, and win, and you're going to get major league credit. All right, now there is a downside, though, I see that Nick may not see. Some, not us, but some will say if you lose, Joe Montana never lost. You're talking about Tom Brady? Can he get past Joe Montana first? Joe Montana was 4-0 in Super Bowls. So some will say that. Some will say...
Well, I'm not really getting this, because if you're playing with house money and all of this, then why would Patrick Mahomes be under duress? Or saying that it's just amazing to get there. So then why is he under duress? Like, where is the pressure coming from? And then if you lose this, they say, can you pass? Montana never lost, but we look at Tom Brady as the GOAT, and Tom Brady lost a handful of times in the Super Bowl. So this isn't like the Michael Jordan GOAT versus LeBron James, where you could really use losses against LeBron James. So I'm just not really sure that if a loss necessarily hurts Patrick Mahomes. I think it if he wins, then everyone will be able to more easily talk about, okay, what's the realistic expectation? Can he get to 7? Can he get to 8? Look how much he's already won. And if he loses, then the conversation, you're still having that same conversation, but they're like, will he ever catch it? Right? It's more like, I feel like if he wins, it's more like people will say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, because he's unstoppable. And then if he loses, they'll be like, okay, kind of like what Bruce said of like, can you even get past Montana? But I don't think it has to do with the fact that Montana is 4-0 and then Patrick Mahomes would just have a couple losses. So I just think it's a little bit different. I'm not seeing, I see if you want to be considered the GOAT and the best, then yes, you always kind of have that pressure to win. But at the same time, if Patrick Mahomes loses, his life, his career, his fan base, his commercials, his money, his just everything, like nothing changes in his life. Like nothing. There's no extra pressure next season. There's just none of that. So, and I think maybe the other players that he's about to put up there or coaches actually have that pressure where if they win, their life dramatically changes, or if they lose, their life changes, and it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? So I'm curious to see.
He lost to Brock Purdy?
I assume Purdy will be up
Mr.
there.
Irrelevant? Come on, what are we talking about? So some will say all of these things, and the GOAT conversation will be put on hold just for maybe another year, but put on hold for a little while until you win your next Super Bowl. So Patrick, go out there, do your thing. Keep the faith you've had in your receivers because it has worked thus far. All right, so I believe in you. All right, at number 2, the other quarterback, Brock Purdy. All right, now, Brock, you would think you were facing no pressure. All right, I mean, you're the 3rd youngest quarterback ever to start in the Super Bowl.
No.
You're the 3rd quarterback ever to start in a Super Bowl in your first full season as a starter. The other 2 Hall of Famers, Kurt Warner and Tom Brady. That's just a fact. Nick will say, oh, you're comparing them to all of them. That's just a fact. You put yourself in that class, all right? And
but you're not putting
you have definitely outweighed the expectations that anyone had for you except maybe yourself. So
you can't say that Brock Purdy should have no pressure because of his youth and all of this, because age and experience at that point has nothing to do with it if you've proven to overcome that and to transcend that. Because if everyone is saying that Brock Purdy is already amazing and great and has the mental fortitude and can handle the big moments and all of this, well, then he doesn't get a pass if he can't handle it in the Super Bowl. Because we've already said, no, he's capable of doing this. Look what he can do. So then if that means, like, look what you can do, then you better do it. You better do it when it matters truly the most, the Super Bowl. You understand what I'm saying? So, and this is kind of similar to what I said about LeBron James and even Tom Brady for that matter with their age. If they've shown that they're transcending their age and showing that they're continuing to be able to play at a high level beyond just this arbitrary number of, oh, they're 38, they're 39, they're 42, whatever the age is at the time. Well, then if they don't play well in a game, you can't now say, well, they're old, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. No, if they're truly showing signs of aging, well, then yeah, that makes sense, of course. But like if they're not, right? If you look at Tom Brady, he's theoretically even at 40 was already an old man, and yet he's still balling out. If he then plays poorly in the Super Bowl, you can't be like, well, it's because he was old. He's not what he was once, what he was before. And it's like, well, we know that's not true because he continued to ball out, win the Super Bowl, do big things. And so to me, that's with Purdy. Like, which is it? Is Purdy young and immature and kind of like a deer in headlights, but able to kind of like get on by? Or is he a great quarterback? And if he is a great quarterback, then he has to be able to perform in the Super Bowl. Fair or unfair, that's just what happens when you're really good fast, or if you're on a really good team. He's had a lot of success early on, so the pressure is for you to succeed, because if he does not play well in the Super Bowl, let's say he just does not have a good game at all, he throws a couple picks, he looks obviously shook, he plays almost kind of like how Dak Prescott played against the Packers. Let's say that's the game that he had. People are going to freak out. You'll have some fans who will be upset. I think you'll have a lot of die-hard Brock Purdy fans who will still be loyal to him and say, hey, he was just young, what are you going to do? But a lot of people will be like, did Purdy prove that he's not good enough? But he went up against a defense that was really elite, that he went, you just give more fuel to that fire. So I think Brock Purdy actually has the most amount of pressure than anyone else. And I assume he's going to now put Shanahan up there. And I think Shanahan, I'll unpack after.
I don't even think, you want to win, of course. It's great if you win. I don't think you necessarily have to win. But what you can't do.
Well, I will say, though, real fast, sorry. Mahomes did lose to Tom Brady. So that is the argument that, Purdy can lose. But Mahomes was already a winner at that point, though. So he was already pretty much Mahomes.
It's play terrible. You cannot go out there and play like you did against the Ravens. That's when all things fall apart for you. And some would wonder, wow, do they need to go out and get a Kirk Cousins or get another quarterback to try to win with this group that they have now? If you just play okay and you guys lose, I think you'll be fine. But you can't go out there and play terribly. Brock, I believe in you. At number 1, Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
I got to call it like it is. Now, you are a terrific offensive mind. There's no question about it. But that's good if you're an offensive coordinator. But you're a head coach. So a head coach just being a terrific offensive mind doesn't matter. The bottom line is winning, particularly winning the Super Bowl. And we know in the big games, Kyle, you have not delivered, all right? And we can go back to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs before, a few years ago. You guys are up 10 in the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, and you lose. We can go back to the national.
So that's not fair. So again, that I believe he's under duress and under pressure, but he shouldn't be. It took Andy Reid 19 years to win a Super Bowl, and he had to do it with Patrick Mahomes, who's going to go on to potentially be the GOAT. Okay, even if you don't think he's the GOAT, he's clearly one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. And I think Andy Reid is one of the best coaches, if not the best coach. And he had a ton of success with many other quarterbacks going to the Super Bowl, but wasn't able to win. So if Brock Purdy ends up not being the GOAT, essentially, right? Brock Purdy, if he doesn't end up being a top 10 quarterback, top 5 quarterback in the NFL, why is it all on Shanahan to somehow find a way to win with Brock Purdy then? You know what I mean? If Brock Purdy ends up being, truly in the same class as a Mahomes from a career perspective, then sure, in retrospect, if they don't win, you could maybe blame Shanahan. But if he's not, why is that fair? Why are you blaming him for not being able to win with Garoppolo when Garoppolo has proven not to really be able to have a long career in the NFL? That he was only able to do what he could do because of Shanahan and the weapons. It doesn't really make sense. Not to mention, they were up by 10, and then you lost to the Patrick Mahomes, the genius Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Not to mention, Shanahan dialed up a perfect play for Garoppolo, and he overthrew it. He missed the receiver. I forget if it was Debo at that time. I forget which receiver it was, but, he missed it. Where if they make that play, boom, they win. Or the game is just, different. So this idea that it's all on Shanahan has had amazing, insane success. Amazing, insane success. And now, both times he's in the Super Bowl, technically, let's just say use all 3 with the Falcons, which I also think is not fair because that was his first time. It was different. He had Matt Ryan. It was just a different situation. And coaches learn and grow and mature. So what are we just going to keep holding his feet to the fire for that game? I just don't think that's fair. Because if that's the case, then everyone should still be blaming Andy Reid for the Super Bowl with the Eagles, which you obviously don't. But Shanahan has also had the unfortunate, of going up against the GOAT coaches of Belichick and Tom Brady, as well as going up against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So what are you saying? He has to beat the 2 best quarterbacks and the 2 best coaches in NFL history, and if he doesn't, then that's on him? That's not fair because, again, Andy Reid is slowly becoming the GOAT coach or one of the best coaches ever, and the way how he finally got his first Super Bowl was by beating obviously Shanahan was still really good, but a newer quarterback, a newer coach, and definitely his first time as the head coach being, in the Super Bowl, as well as Garoppolo, who is clearly not that great of a quarterback. That was the luxury that Andy Reid got to have. So why does Shanahan's going up against the monster Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, the best quarterback coach duo in the history of the NFL from my viewpoint. So I just don't think that that's necessarily fair to put on Shanahan, honestly. And I think someone else who should be up there, if you truly want to have a big game in terms of where the pressure really is the next two players I would put up is Kelsey and McCaffrey. Because if they're going to win a Super Bowl for the 49ers, McCaffrey's going to have a huge game. I mean, he's going to have those games where you're like, oh my God, how can they not tackle them, right? Where if you're a Chiefs fan, you just either freak out because you're like, why can't we tackle McCaffrey? Or you're just like, McCaffrey's just so good, and you just have to tip your hat, right? Like, it has to be one of those games where you're just like, oh my God, what is wrong with McCaffrey? Why can't we stop him? And you can make the argument for Debo as well. And then the other person who's under duress, again, depends on where you want to say this is coming from, is Travis Kelce. Because if Travis Kelce is at the peak of his fame right now, right? A combination of Taylor Swift, a combination between him, near the end of his career. So people are really kind of trying to extract as much as they can, especially advertisers, everything. He won the Super Bowl last year, the personality. And so that's why it kind of coincided perfectly between him already becoming more famous than he had ever been before. Then you add Taylor Swift onto that. Now, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's just going to continue to push him higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. But if he loses, his personal life won't necessarily change in terms of his relationship with Taylor Swift or, being in some of the commercials, but it'll be different. It'll be different because if you are dating Taylor Swift and you win the Super Bowl, right? You have that magical moment where they're on the field kissing, all of that. I mean, who's to say that they won't even say that Travis Kelce will be in the I'm going to Disney World commercial and Taylor Swift will be there with him. It'll be such a synergistic energy that will just explode. I mean, seriously, explode. And if you lose, you won't get that. So it'll be, you'll, instead of seeing Travis Kelce dancing and kissing Taylor Swift, he's going to be sitting there, with his head down, all sad and upset, while the confetti, although it's going to be the same colors because they're the same color teams, it'll be the 49ers cheering and the confetti dropping and all of that. So it's just a different image. So that's the way I kind of look at it. But those are my thoughts on this. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. Who do you think should be most under duress for this? Do you think it is Shanahan and Purdy? Do you think Mahomes up there? What about, Kelsey, Kittle, McCaffrey, any of these other players? Please let me know. Would love to hear your thoughts. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really, really helps with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.